Lesson 2.1. By the end of this video, you should be able to solve one-step equations. Before you can solve equations, you need to know the properties of equality that we use to solve equations. The first is the addition property of equality, which states that you can add the same thing to both sides of an equation. And the equation remains true. For example, if I have A equals B and I want to add C to both sides, I can do that as long as I add it to both sides of the equation. The subtraction property states that you can subtract the same thing from both sides of an equation. So, if I have A equals B and I want to subtract C, I can do that as long as I subtract it from both sides. The multiplication property states that you can multiply both sides of an equation by the same number. So if I have A equals B, then I can do A times C equals B times C. And then the division property states that you can divide both sides of an equation by the same number. So if I have A equals B, then I can do A over C equals B over C. Now that you know the properties, we should be able to solve equations. So example 1, I have x plus 13 equals 27. Solving equations is simply undoing whatever you're doing to x. So the first thing you want to do is find your x, and then figure out what are you doing to x. I'm adding 13, so the opposite of that would be subtract 13. That'll make the 13 go away, but the subtraction property of equality says that I have to subtract it from both sides. So I get x equals 14. That's my final answer. When you get x by itself, you're finished solving the equation. Guided practice number 1. Pause the video, try it on your own, and then I'll tell the answer in just a second. Okay, you should subtract 2, and you get y equals negative 8. Example 2. Find your variable. Figure out what's happening to your variable. In this case, we are subtracting 3, so the opposite of that would be add. And that's going to make that number go away and get my variable by itself. The addition property of equality states that I have to add the same thing to both sides. So I'm going to get b on the right hand side, and on the left hand side, negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. And that's my final answer. When you get the variable by itself, you're finished. Guided practice number 2. Try this on your own, and then I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, here's your m, and it looks like we're subtracting 8, so the opposite of that is add 8. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other, so I end up with m equals negative 6. For b, I'm subtracting 3.2, so 3 halves, so I'm going to have to add 3 halves, and I get y equals, and then 1 half plus 3 halves is 4 halves, which reduces to 2. Okay, example 3, we're going to use division this time. So in our problem, we're going to find our x, and it's right here, and it's multiplied by 4. So the opposite of multiplication is division. We're going to divide by the 4. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And we get x equals 6.4 divided by 4 is 1.6. And that's my answer. Guided practice number 3. I'm going to do the first one with you, and you can do the second one by yourself. Or you can go ahead and try to do it by yourself if you feel like you can. There's your x. It's being multiplied by 15, so we're going to divide by 15. The 15's cancel, and we get x equals 2 over Actually, we get x equals 10 over 15, but you can divide both of them by 5, and that ends up being 2 over 3. Okay, pause the video, try guided practice 3B, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. What you should have done is divided both sides by negative 3.2. And you get negative 4.375. Example 4, find your variable. Happens to be there. It's divided by 4, so the opposite of that, and I'm going to rewrite the equation so I can show you. The opposite of that is going to be to multiply by 4. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So you get x equals negative 36, and that's your final answer. Guided practice number 4A, I'm going to do with you. I'm dividing by 3, so the opposite of that is multiply both sides by 3. 19 times 3 is going to be 57, and that's your final answer. I want you to do B, so pause it, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Alright, multiply both sides by negative 9. That's going to cancel on the left, and you get x equals negative 72. Guided practice number 5, example number 5. When you have a fraction in front of your variable, as we do here, the best way to solve is to multiply by the reciprocal. That's not the only way you can do it. It's just the fastest way. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. 4/5 m equals 28. Multiply both sides by 5/4. And when you multiply reciprocals, that's the multiplicative inverse, which makes it actually turn into 1. So it's going to be 1m, or just m. And then on the right-hand side, you can divide the bottom into the number, so that's going to be 7, and then 7 times 5 is 35. Pause the video, try guided practice 5 on your own, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, multiply both sides by the reciprocal. 4/3, then 4/3. The fractions cancel, and the 3 will go into 12 4 times, and 4 times 4 is 16. So your final answer should be 16. Example 6. Toucans and blue and yellow macaws are both tropical birds. The length of an average toucan is about 2/3 of the length of an average blue and yellow macaw. Toucans are about 24 inches long. What is the length of an average blue and yellow macaw? The sentence we really want to pay attention to is here, because that sounds to me like your equation. The length of an average toucan is 2/3 of the length of an average blue and yellow macaw. So I wrote the equation, T equals 2/3 m. Then they tell you, and I'll highlight this with a different color, that toucans are about 24 inches long. So instead of T, we're going to replace it with 24, and we have an equation. Now, in the equation, we're multiplying by a fraction. The best way to solve those equations is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So I put the bottom on the top and the top on the bottom. Those are multiplicative inverses, which means I'm going to get 1. So they cancel. And then over here, the 2 can go into 24 12 times, and 3 times 12 is 36. So a macaw average length is going to be 36 inches. So my real answer would be 36 inches. Alright, guided practice number 6. An online DVD rental company offers gift certificates that you can use to purchase rental plans. You have a gift certificate for $30. The plan you select costs $5 per month. How many months can you purchase with the gift certificates? Pause the video, try to do this one on your own, and then I'll give you the answer in just a second. Alright, so your equation is going to be $5 per month equals your cost. They want you to spend $30 because that's what your gift certificate is. So 30 is going to be your cost. How do I solve for M? I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I get M equals 6. Okay, here's your guided questions. Pause the video, do these 3 problems on a separate sheet of paper. Show every bit of work, which means you have to write down the question and show how you're solving it and give me the answer. Every single step. If not, it's going in the trash. You're not getting credit. Bring it to me tomorrow for proof that you did your homework.